the Anunnaki races through Nibiru have had control over what's called Stargate 4 and Stargate 5, or part of Stargate 5, not the whole thing, since 22,500 BC. They've seeded distortions of our religions, which were originally translations of the Cloister Door Tour plates. What they did was take them and put up a false externalized creator God. That is false. The teachings of Christ were always about the inner Christ. The teachings of the Cloister Door Tour plate. Now, there was a Jesus. Actually, there were two of them right around the same time. We're not denouncing Christianity, but I was a part of those early movements in my incarnation. I remember how much they meant. And when I see what's being done with the externalized God concept and how people are being used and manipulated with that concept, it makes me angry enough to say, to tell the truth that I know. And I know the truth from the Cloister Door Tour plates and from the incarnational memory I have to back it up. It started with Atlantis. When Atlantis went down, it continued in Sumerian culture, where the god Anu was appointed as the big father patriarch guy. And there's a whole story in Sumerian culture about Enki and Enlil and their fight and their father god Anu. This was a whole Anunnaki story. It was when they began again to try to infiltrate this planet by hybridization with the human lineages, trying to literally force enough of themselves in here where they could contaminate the human gene code and mutate it out of its 12-strand capacity. They have 11-strand capacity. If you have 11-strand capacity and you're trying to control a group that you know has 12-strand capacity, you know you're in trouble if they wake up, because you're not going to control them anymore. The Anunnaki want the Templar. They always have. They want Earth's Templar and they want the interplanetary Templar. And because they didn't understand the need to have Christos consciousness, to have the commission to run that Templar, they fought for it and tried to take it instead, and they're still doing it. Right now, we have a situation of a stellar activation cycle, which is actually a wonderful joy. For 200,000 years, our race incarnationally has waited and waited for this point. It commenced on January 1st, 2000. They didn't know if it would, because there's a lot of physics involved with whether or not those gates will actually open. But once something called grounding the stellar bridge happens, which did happen on January 1st, 2000, you can't turn it back. That starts the frequency downloads from the higher dimensional fields. That starts the opening of the seals, the 7 seals in the planetary grids, which are frequency seals on the 7 primary vortices on the planet. It starts a whole chain reaction that brings our sleeping Templar complex and all its sacred sites and all its Stargate sites and portals to life. Now that that's happening, normally we'd have a great celebration. This is great. This is where we get our teachings back, because when there was a promise in the Emerald Covenant, the restatement 248,000 years ago, that when the stellar activation cycle next happened, the angelic legions would bring back the Cloister Door Tour plates, give the information back in pure form, and turn the keys to the Templar, Earth's Templar, over to the human lineage, to the ones who showed they cared and who showed enough spiritual maturity where they wouldn't abuse the power. It was time to activate the Emerald Covenant. January 1st brought that to us, and that is such a celebration for our race. When we can begin to understand or remember where we came from before, we all have, right in our DNA, memory of our other lifetimes. We're going to talk about those a little bit today. I'm talking about reincarnation, but not in the usual sense. We're talking time mechanics.